Yeah, so he's put in an offer to buy Twitter for $43 billion in a hostile takeover. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we can all offer it, but he's in a rare position to actually... Yeah.
That's like 1% of his wealth.
I've got it on me.
Yeah, here you go. So he famously bought $9 billion of shares recently. He had 9%. 9% of shares. They offered him a seat on the board, and he turned that down because that would have limited to 15%. So this was all right. He's been gearing up for this buyer, and he's offering, I believe, 50% over the share price value. Mm-hmm. And I read a nice thread today on Twitter sort of explaining his strategy for this, because it's going to be very hard for them to turn this down because they have a legal responsibility to their shareholders. And he's basically said, if you don't accept this, I'm just going to pull out and sell all my shares. In which case, it's all going to go way back down again.
It's a tricky one, isn't it, Andrew? Because on the one hand, I do think, getting onto the morals of it or the intention of it, I do kind of think there's an element of bluff in it as well. Though I know he's got a lot of money, but still, $43 billion, it would be a huge... Because most of his wealth, as he explained very patiently when he was being accused of avoiding tax, is tied up in Tesla equity. And if he were to sell his Tesla equity in order to get Twitter, he would lose control of Tesla. I don't think he's want to do that.
Well, maybe not, but I do think he is very much committed to the problem of addressing free speech in the digital age. And he's fully aware. It's not frivolous or flippant. The de facto public square, social media, is now dominated by people who have a very ideological worldview, and they are censoring according to that worldview. Absolutely. And that really, really does matter, and it's going to be the next sort of big free speech battle, I think. And there is this collective oligopoly of companies, and that needs to be broken somehow. And every attempt to break it, either through Parler, where all the big Silicon Valley tech giants collaborated to ensure that Parler couldn't work. Gab was an early version of. Then we've got Getter now, but all of these attempts, they're just not big enough.
Well, networks scale more than almost anything else, don't they? If something else is a tenth of the size, there's no point in going there. And if you go to Getter or Gab, there is that horrible suspicion that you just go there because you want to be able to be really quite explicitly racist or say completely unacceptable things. And so there's... Well,
that's the problem, though, isn't it? If you have a platform that's dedicated to free speech, inevitably the worst people are going to go there. And then, of course, activists can point to those people and say, that's what this website is for. But that's not what,
this would be the best outcome, in fact.
It would.
And, of course, there might be one or two other billionaires who share his interest in maintaining a town square, in which case it could become something that would be shared amongst them. To be fair, Jeff Bezos has the Washington Post now, which is very nearly as important as Twitter, if not more important in terms of setting the national agenda. Nobody seemed to have a particular big problem. And, of course, we've known for years that Murdoch has been controlling on three continents, extraordinary control over the national conversation.
I think these billionaires need to step up and buy more things. I'd like the same for universities. I think the universities are so contaminated by this ideological problem. I think billionaires should step up and buy Hull or one of the other ones.
Still only one. We should not allow this to change track totally, but there's still only one properly independent university, isn't there? I think it's Buckingham. And it's run by Selden, isn't it? Or at least it was for a while.
But in America, you've got the University of Austin at Texas, the new university.
How's that going now?
I haven't checked in lately.
That became a sort of intellectual dark web place, wasn't it?
Well, no, but they've taken people like Kathleen Stock is now involved there, and there's also the Ralston College in Savannah, which is similarly independent. I think that will be the future, because believe me, like the way in which, and I know it's not all academics, but there's a substantial and very powerful proportion of academics that are activist first and academic second.
There's a lot of them are on the left, and then there's quite a few that are really on the left, and there's like nobody on the right to balance that out. Josh, what's your...
Well, back to Twitter. There's no doubt that Twitter, the way it is at the moment, is it's conforming to its ideological perspective in terms of the things that there obviously, if anybody's on Twitter, knows that there are algorithms where it squashes some stuff, promotes other stuff, the people it bans.
And the shadow banning, which really does happen, and people thought that was a paranoid conspiracy theory. If you don't follow Twitter, essentially shadow banning means you carry on tweeting, but they have various ways of
they don't tell you. They don't tell you that no one can see your tweets.
Well, that's it. I know, and I've been shadow banned for years, and then it just turned out I was rubbish.
That's what people say, isn't it? But it plays with your head, absolutely. But it's funny, I have several people whose tweets I love, and I suddenly go, I haven't seen them for ages. Where have they gone? And you go, and they are tweeting, but it's somehow been...
You get de-boosted, is what they call it. And it's often due to your opinions. That's the truth of it.
And then there's loads of them as you go... you see like 3 or 4 replies to a tweet, and then it goes, click on this if you really want to see it. We warn you, this won't be very nice. And you click on it, it just says lol or something. Yeah. But it's somebody who has previously tweeted an unacceptable opinion, and so they are now tainted. It's like a scarlet letter. It's terrible.
Yeah.